Jeff, you've been in it for 7 years. How are you
5, 6
handling
years.
that? First of all, how long have you been lead generating of those 6 years?
I actually just got back into business full-time in 2008.
Okay. What did you do prior to that?
I was managing.
You were managing. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it's got to be fun. I mean, we've got a bell in our office we ring when we set appointments. We have a board that's titled "I've Heard It All," and we just write up the crazy stuff we hear. And everybody in the office runs around and wants to see what the craziest thing that the person said. And so, I mean, we have fun with it. I mean, but at the end of the day, like Dave said, it's our job. And if we don't do it, I mean, you know, you see all the time agents, you know, well, I was too busy today, I had a couple closings, or I was working with buyers, I couldn't prospect. Well, that's great that you got paid today, but you know what, in 90 days you won't get paid if you don't do it.
Okay. Expand on that 90 days.
Well, in this business, obviously, if you're not generating leads, you're not going to last in this business, especially in this market. And if I were to set an appointment, or I'm sorry, if I were to generate a lead today, I probably won't see them, if I even go see them, for another week, because it takes time to lead follow-up, and I know we're going to talk about that. And then once we take the listing, we've got 30, 60 days before the listing sells. It's 90, 120 days before we're getting paid. Right. So if I'm getting paychecks today and not generating leads today, that's great, I'm getting paid today, but in 90 or 120 days, I'll be out of the business.
The important thing to remember is, if you don't have a paycheck today, it's not because of what you did yesterday, it's because of what you did in March, or April, or May. So if you want to make sure you can have a paycheck in December, think about that. Every time you pick up the phone, it's the 26th of August, is it? Or is it the 27th? Somewhere in that range, it's in August, towards the end. So just think about that. If you want to be paid in 90 days from today, think about that today. So John, how do you handle the repetitious boredom?
Well, I thought that was an interesting question when I saw that. I don't really get bored. It's, I call it, lead generation is like harvesting a farm. It's the rule of the harvest. I work like a farmer, think like a hunter. I'm just in there every day planting seeds so that I can harvest the farm later on. Like all of these guys said, it's a job for me. I go in there and I have fun. Plus I'm competitive. I don't like to lose in anything I do. I've got a listing prospector in the room who sits right next to me, and every time he gets an appointment, he and I are keeping track of how many appointments each of us have gotten, and we're competing with one another. So every day we go in, my team competes with one another to see who can get the most appointments. And we have fun with it. It's a lot of fun, and it's our job. We have to do it.
Great. So Dave, on role play, how long have you been role playing, and how many hours a day do you a week do you role play now? And in the past, how long did you role play until you got to your skill levels up?
I've been role playing for 21 years. I usually get, years ago before I really had mastered the scripts, I had a different role play partner every day, and then I would switch them off every 90 days, because otherwise you get to be friends and don't really get role playing. And now I role play still daily, even if it's shutting everything off in the car and the 20-minute ride in, and just role playing the scripts to myself out loud in the car.
Great. So Michael Ann, you're role playing with your clients.
Yes.
How do you role play with? How long do you role play with them, and what are you requiring your coaching clients to role play per day or week?
As an example, Jean may get a call and I'll say, Jean, I don't know, I think you could do it, but I have to think it over. You know, I'll start the call with the role play, and Jean has to answer.
Okay. That's a game you can play, just to let everybody know. You can play that with your coach. You can play that with an accountability partner. Diane and I used to play it. It was called the surprise game. 2 or 3 days a week, or 2 or 3 times a day, in fact, she would call me, and that's how, when I picked up the phone, Diane would be on the other end going, will you cut your commission? Because see, let's face it, do the sellers call you, do the sellers tell you, hey wait, I'm going to give you a minute to prepare, I'm going to ask you the will you cut your commission question. How long do you need to prepare for that answer? Or do they just throw it at you? What that kind of exercise does, it gets you to react quickly. So it's something to think about, and that game is, the sellers don't give you an opportunity to think about it. you have to learn how to handle them on the fly. And if you're driving your car, or Jean's probably figuring out now, so she may not ask him on the beginning.
It's not every time, or it might be at the end, not the beginning.
Right.
You know, also,
Jeff, how about you? Go ahead.
hey, Tony, and also, like, with my role play partner, we go right into it. We set the parameters early. When the phone rings, we're live. We're not catching up. We're not seeing how their day was. It's right into it. So it's a full, solid 15 minutes of scripting. There's no catching up. It's just, and then I'll see you the next day.
Great. Every day?
Every day.
Jeff, how often do you role play?
10 minutes before I start prospecting, and I role play who I'm going to be calling, which is usually expireds. And then at 10 o'clock, from 10 to 10:30, we role play objection handling.
Great. Do any of you role play your listing presentation, and how often?
I had a rule for years that I had to do a listing presentation every day at 2 o'clock, even if it was to myself or someone else in the office. So I made sure I did one presentation every day.
Great. John, do you role play still?
I role play every day, and I have several different role play partners that I role play with, including my family, which they just love. I'll also role play, and I guess maybe it's not role play, but it's still practice. I'll role play by myself, driving down the street, looking in the rearview mirror. You'll get some strange looks from the people driving next to you, but that's okay. It's good practice. And then on your question as far as role playing listing presentations, my listing partner and I meet twice a week, and we do a full listing presentation during both of those meetings.
Perfect. Tell me a little bit, you got the microphone. John, tell me a little bit about your environment. Tell me about your, in fact, John said he would send it to me, and we didn't have a way of displaying it, but tell me about your environment where you actually do your lead generation.
I lead generate in my office with everyone else. We feed off of one another's energy, and like I said earlier, we compete with one another, but we also celebrate each other's successes as well. My back is to the door. When people walk in the door, I don't know who it is, and I won't turn around to see who's there. I'm standing kind of in a corner. I have my scripts in front of me. I have a headset on. One of the best investments I made was to get a wireless headset so that I can move around and get away from my desk. And I'm just making as many phone calls during that time as possible, focused on outgoing calls. I don't answer the phone. I don't look at email. I don't check voicemails. Very focused.
Great. So tell me, how do you dial? Does the phone ever hit the cradle? Do you just keep dialing? How do you do that?
My headset, the way it works is the phone just stays off the entire time, and as soon as I disconnect from one phone, from one call, I'm dialing the other. The other call, it never hits the cradle during that 2 to 3 hour time period.
Perfect. Dave, tell me about your environment. How many of you have seen Dave's video on his lead generation? Okay, a few of you. So tell us about your environment.
I have a drafting table where I stand at. I have a mirror to look in to remind me to smile. My scripts are on a flip chart to my right. I keep one legal pad there to scribble notes as I'm talking to people. And I have a wireless, so sometimes if it gets into a long conversation, I can walk around and look out the window or whatever. But when I'm done with one call, I just push a button and then it hangs up, and then I'm dialed to do the next one.
Great. Did you ever do 2 headsets?
I tried, but I can't do email, so I couldn't do 2 headsets.
Great. Jeff, how about you? Tell us about
My environment's pretty simple. It's actually not as intense as Dave's environment. Computer monitor's off. My cell phone's on silent, not on vibrate. You'll feel if it's on vibrate. I'm either standing up or sitting down, depending on the personality style of the person that answers the phone.
Explain that.
You know, if I'm talking to, if an older lady answers the phone, let's say, and she's very soft and very sweet, I'm probably going to turn down my intensity and sit down, because naturally when you're standing up, you're full of energy, you're full of life, and it's coming through, and you won't be in rapport with the person on the other end, and if you're not in rapport, you're not going to get anywhere with them. So depending on the personality style, I'll sit down or stand up.
Okay, that's an interesting thought. Write that one down. That's an interesting thought. sitting down, if you sit down and lead generate, your energy goes down. I'm sure at your intensity, some people you could just blow them away. You absolutely have no rapport with them.
Right.
Perfect. Okay, before we go there, just answer the question.